Fellow Kenyans, we are back. My name is Mundalo M. Advice, and this here is my 2 cents of forum, a segment where we delve into matters, leadership, politics, and governance across the globe, in the African continent, and of course, my country, Kenya. We strive to be unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbiased. Welcome to 2 Cents Forum. The politics of Kenya is centered around tribalism, and it's obvious that we are controlled by the 5 major tribes in Kenya. And these 5 tribes are controlled by what we call kingpins. These are region heads that control the politics of those regions. And one region in particular, the Luo community, has had one leader for a very long time, and that is His Excellency Raila Odinga. Many people have asked, and there's a lot of question as to what then will happen to this community after the exit of Raila Odinga from politics. We have many people who claim to be nurtured by Raila Odinga. We have many people who have tried to kind of arrest this community and take it over as a kingpin, the likes of the one-man Army General Miguna. But then, who exactly can fit into the shoes of Raila Odinga and take over as the regional kingpin of the Luo community? And my answer is a person who is able to fit into this shoe is the person who is able to resemble the politics of Raila Odinga, the person who has been able to make it known to everybody that they can more or less look like Raila Odinga. And that person is none other than Babu Owino, Member of Parliament, Embakasi East, for the following reason. Number one, Babu Owino is self-made and he is a brand. He has managed to establish a brand strong enough away from ODM, away from Raila Odinga, and away from every other factor that surrounds the politics of the region and the country to stand alone. People can easily identify Babu Owino as a person without association, unlike other people who are competing with him in the same position, who would not easily survive without the name Raila Odinga. This is what Raila was able to do in the early 80s, when he was able to stand out away from the name of his father and stand out as Raila Odinga. And that is the first reason why I believe Babu Owino would easily take over as the regional kingpin. The second reason, he has proven to be a fighter of the people. Whether this is true or not, the fact is he has created a perception that he fights for the people, which is exactly like Raila Odinga in his days when he faced a lot of arrests, courtesy of fighting for the people when he was in Ford, Kenya, together with his father. And this Babu Owino has created through his history in university politics, where we saw him fight for help, we saw him fight for the release of arrested students, we saw him fight for a better leadership in University of Nairobi. We saw him put students to the streets every other time, fighting for a kind of liberation. And this instills him to the Luos as a person who can be able to fight for them, because the Luo community believes in a person who will be able to fight for them. Not just a leader who will just be there. They want to believe in someone who will this person fight for their interests. It's a community that has been put into this, into a fighting spirit every other time. And therefore they would really need a leader who can fight for them. He has also been able to prove this using even the demonstrations. He has always been at the forefront. And therefore this has earned him a bit of respect to the Luo community. And they would easily believe him. He is easily believable to be the person who will take them to the next step. Not talk about the third reason in which I believe Babu Owino would be easily entrusted because of his loyalty to Raila Odinga, or Baba, as they say. He has proven that he has been loyal. The Luo community will not easily endorse anybody to take them over who will not have respected or earned the credits of Raila Odinga. This Babu Owino has been able to do. How? Babu Owino, number one, is the only legislature who was from Luo Nyanza, who came out outright and swore in the name of Raila Odinga when it was heated. And yet it was his first time as a member of parliament, but he went against the grain and did this. This proved something to the Luo community. And number two, when it was heated after the 2017 elections, and there was the resist campaign, Babu Owino came out and insulted a rival community and the president at the time in a manner that was so daring. In as much as this was able to hurt the country and hurt every other level-headed and average thinking Kenyan, that this was something wrong, but what was the effect to the community? This earned him more credit to the community because they believed that he can go to whichever extent to protect them. And therefore, this loyalty proves that Babu Owino can be able to take over the leadership of the Luo community. Another reason, which one would think is far-fetched, but it would be true than false, is Babu Owino is a Nairobi legislature. He's an MP in Embakasi, exactly like Raila Odinga, who was a member of parliament in Nairobi. Our people love it, and Africans love it when people come away from them. Our people like endorsing people who come from far. They believe that people who come from far come with goodies. And this is where Babu Owino resonates well with the Luo community. Because every time he gets to Luo Nyanza, he's a visitor, he's a guest. He's received in a manner that not any other legislature from the region would be able to have. And this puts him ahead as a person who will be able to be fit in this shoe. They will easily equate him to Raila Odinga because of this simple fact. Remember, the voter is most often an illiterate person. They don't go into the nitty-gritties, but with them, just that resemblance, that little resemblance that Babu Owino is an MP in Nairobi, and Raila Odinga was also a member of parliament in Nairobi, to them, that shows that there is a kind of inheritance of some sort, and therefore that will be able to put him ahead of his competitors in regard to being the regional kingpin. Not to mention the fact that that Babu Owino, just like Raila Odinga, is a good mobilizer. When you look at the members of parliament, the senators, and generally the leadership in Luo Nyanza today, not any of them would command the mobilization skills that Babu Owino would. Like Raila Odinga, Babu Owino can call a meeting in Nairobi and he can be sure of an attendance. He has done this when he was a student leader. He has done this in Embakasi East, and therefore we can prove that this person can be able to pull crowds. You cannot be able to be a Luo leader when you cannot pull crowds. Babu Owino, when he visits Kisumu, anytime he's in the city, there is a lot of crowd around him. And this to the Luos, this is a show of leadership. And this is a show of being their king. And this he's able to do just like Raila Odinga. Therefore, he can fit well into those shoes. Unlike those other guys who are competing with him. Babu Owino is also a performer. Luos like a leader who performs. Performance in this manner is not necessarily the kind of performance that one would call development, maybe by the United Nations standards, but by the common man's standing. Babu Owino is the kind of leader who will be able to give fish when the people need fish. In Embakasi East, Babu Owino has a program where he has been able to give these people flour, like every month or something. This to the Luos is very important. Babu Owino has been known to be generous. He will dish out money one here and there. To the common person, that is performance and that is leadership. And also, even not mentioning that, he has also been able to build the roads in Embakasi East. He doesn't just talk, but you can be able to see that he's able to do different things. He has been able to give bursaries to students. His CDF is working quite well. And this is performance. And therefore, with this, he would equate more to Raila Odinga and therefore easily ascend the throne of the Luo kingdom. Lastly, Babu Owino is ambitious. Luos do not like a leader who is not ambitious. Babu Owino will have something to tell his people every other time, just like Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has been able to maintain the momentum of the Luo community, vying for president every other time, but being fresh every time he does it. When he loses the election, he will tell people that they are going to be taken to a cannon of some sort. When they get comfortable with that, he swears himself in. Luos like people who keep the momentum and people who are ambitious. That is Babu Owino. He has been a student leader 4, 5 times. He has been a member of parliament. He's now garnering for governor. He has already given a promise of being president, and therefore his trend is very consistent. This is what Luos love. They would love someone who, at the end of the day, they know he's destined to something bigger than what is just ordinary. They don't like people who settle for less things. Babu Owino doesn't settle for this. And also Babu Owino moves around with the Luo swag that they like. And therefore, this, to me, is the person who will easily ascend the throne that will be left by Raila Odinga in leadership. Many might not agree, but again, Babu Owino being young is very advantageous to him. It makes the people sure that there is longevity, that they can bank on him for a formidable future. Unlike others who might be way old and nearing the age of Raila Odinga himself, this guy proves to these guys that, you know what, there is a future. Just like Raila Odinga, when he took them up when he was about 40 years old. That is almost the same age that Babu Owino is moving to today. And therefore, the Luos can believe in him for the future. And therefore, time will tell, but I can be able to be sure that the next Luo kingpin, the holder of the seal of the Luo Union, will be none other than Babu Owino. But that is my 2 cents.